Think back to July 2024.
Oh, wow, yeah. That was quite a month.
Right. The CrowdStrike software outage hits. And it just triggers this sudden global IT meltdown.
Yeah, banks going dark, hospitals, just massive chaos.
Exactly. But if you were traveling, I mean, you really saw the impact concentrated in the airports.
Oh, absolutely. It was a nightmare.
Every major U.S. airline gets hit at the exact same moment. And here's the massive discontinuity. American Airlines is largely back online that very same evening.
Right, they bounce back fast.
But Delta Airlines, they just spiral into this catastrophic, 5-day paralysis.
Yeah, it was bad.
I mean, we're talking over 7,000 canceled flights, 1.3 million stranded passengers,
Staggering numbers.
and a $500 million financial loss, plus a federal investigation to top it off.
Right. Which really begs the question of why.
Exactly. Why the massive discrepancy? Because Delta has, one of the best consumer-facing apps in the entire airline industry.
They do. It's incredibly slick.
So to answer that, we are pulling from a really fascinating upcoming book today called Lead with CX, alongside some internal analysis by customer experience expert Hitesh Bhagai.
It's fantastic source material.
It really is. And our mission for this deep dive into the source material is to understand this multi-trillion-dollar illusion of corporate technology.
Yeah, why the billions of dollars companies spend on digital transformation constantly fail to actually improve the experience for you, the customer.
Exactly. Okay, let's unpack this. Why did the shiny technology fail Delta so spectacularly?
Well, what's fascinating here is that the crucial distinction between Delta and the carriers that recovered quickly, it wasn't the nature of the software failure at all.
Oh, really? So it wasn't the glitch itself?
No, not at all. It was the underlying infrastructure that the failure exposed. Because to understand the mechanism here, we kind of have to look at how airline operations actually work.
Okay. Walk me through it.
So Delta had successfully poured, massive capital into the top layer of their technology.
Like the digital check-in.
Right, the check-in, the real-time push notifications, the beautiful interface on your phone.
Yeah, it works great. Usually.
Usually, yeah. But their operational backbone, specifically their crew tracking software that was running on a completely antiquated legacy system.
And the crew tracking software, that's the system that essentially dictates the entire airline's reality, right?
Absolutely.
Like it tells the company exactly which pilot and which flight attendant is at which gate.
Exactly. And it's a system of just immense mathematical complexity. You aren't just moving bodies around.
Right, you got rules.
Right. You are balancing strict federal aviation regulations regarding crew rest hours, aircraft certifications, union rules.
Millions of variables.
Millions. So when that top layer technology went down, that really fragile legacy foundation just couldn't hold the weight of the operation.
So what do?
The frontline dispatch teams had to revert to manual processes. Yeah, but you cannot manually calculate the legal flight hours and logistics for tens of thousands of crew members across a global network using, spreadsheets and whiteboards.
Yeah, the variables are simply too complex for human cognition without software support.
It's physically impossible.
I read that Microsoft actually offered them help immediately, from day one. And Delta's internal systems were so gridlocked, they struggled to even coordinate a response to accept the assistance.
Which is just wild.
It reminds me of a severe structural mismatch. It's like, okay, imagine installing a state-of-the-art, voice-activated smart home touchscreen on your wall.
Okay, I'm picturing it.
But the house behind it still relies on, 1920s knob and tube electrical wiring.
Oh, wow.
You can tap that beautiful screen to request all the electricity you want, but the brittle wires in the wall are going to literally melt trying to deliver it.
That's a highly accurate way to visualize the mechanism at play.
It's just a facade, really.
Exactly. The sleek interface makes promises that the underlying infrastructure simply cannot keep.
Which raises an immediate question about scale, right? Was Delta just uniquely mismanaged in its IT architecture?
Yeah.
Or is this smart home screen on vintage wiring mismatch the norm across the corporate landscape?
Sadly, it is overwhelmingly the norm. And the macro data from the sources is staggering.
How bad are we talking?
Well, McKinsey and BCG, which are, two of the most prominent consulting firms in the world, they consistently show that 70% of digital transformation initiatives fail to meet their stated objectives.
70%, that's huge.
It gets worse. A 2024 analysis by Bain pushes that figure even higher. They indicate 88% of business transformations fail to achieve their original ambitions.
Okay, wait, I have to challenge that 88% failure rate
Sure.
because it sounds almost apocalyptic. I mean, when a massive enterprise rolls out a new system, say like a global supply chain software,
Yeah.
there's always a chaotic adoption phase.
Oh, absolutely. Always.
Productivity inevitably dips in the first few months.
Yeah.
People complain, massive bugs get patched,
Yeah.
workflows get adjusted.
Yeah, the classic year one growing pains.
Exactly. So doesn't that high failure rate just reflect the expected friction of year one? Like
Okay.
if we measure them in year 3, after the tech settles, don't the returns materialize?
See, that is the logical assumption, but the data timeline actually reveals the exact opposite.
Wait, really?
Yeah, the decay actually accelerates after the initial launch.
Oh, wow.
McKinsey found that even among the rare companies that declare victory, the ones that successfully deploy the tech and hit their initial performance targets at launch, only 12% sustain those gains for more than 3 years.
Wait, only 12% sustain the gains.
Just 12.
So companies are throwing these massive launch parties, declaring the transformation a total success, and then quietly losing the war in year 2 and 3.
Precisely.
Why? What is the mechanism of that decay?
Well, the decay happens because the underlying human processes were never actually transformed.
So just the tech changed.
Exactly. The new software is just forced onto the frontline workers, and it often requires them to work in these really unnatural, inefficient ways.
But they make it work at first.
Right, through sheer willpower. You've got massive executive pressure, tons of overtime during the launch phase, so the employees muscle through it to hit those launch metrics.
But you can't run on adrenaline forever.
Exactly. Willpower is a finite resource. So by year 2, the executive focus naturally shifts to the next shiny object, the pressure lifts, and the frontline workers are just exhausted.
So they just give up.
Well, because the core operational friction was never removed, they naturally revert to what's called shadow IT.
Shadow IT.
Yeah, they build secret spreadsheets, they develop their own workarounds, they go back to legacy habits,
Yeah.
basically just to survive their workday.
Oh, man. And all that newly purchased software just becomes dead weight.
Yep. Which explains the incredible financial toll cited in the source material.
Right, because IDC data estimates that $2.3 trillion is spent annually on failed transformation programs. Trillion, with the T.
It's incomprehensible.
It is. Hitesh Bagai refers to this not just as a financial loss, but as, quote, civilizational waste.
Civilizational waste. It's a strong phrase, but it fits.
And you can see the direct result of that waste in your daily life as a consumer. According to Forrester's 2024 index, U.S. customer experience quality has actually hit an all-time low.
For the 3rd consecutive year.
Right. So we are seeing record-breaking spending on corporate digital transformation, resulting in record-breaking customer misery.
It's a total paradox. And if we connect this to the bigger picture, it forces us to reconsider the entire diagnosis.
How so?
Well, if throwing trillions of dollars at cloud computing and mobile apps isn't fixing the customer experience, then we do not have a technology problem.
Right. We have a human execution problem.
Exactly. We have an operational design problem that has simply been dressed up in a technology costume.
Dressed up. I love that.
Yeah.
Bad Guy actually labels this exact phenomenon CX theater, or customer experience theater.
It perfectly captures the illusion.
It really does. CX theater occurs when a company redesigns the digital touchpoint, like making a sleek app, without fixing the underlying billing logic, or supply chain, or service routing that actually powers the transaction.
Yeah. And we have to acknowledge the psychological damage this theater inflicts on you, the customer.
For sure. It's so frustrating.
Because it's about expectation setting. When you interact with a beautifully designed, highly responsive app, it subconsciously signals operational competence.
Your baseline expectation shifts upward. You assume the company has its act together.
Right. So when the transaction hits a snag, and you are forced into the actual operational reality of the company.
Like trying to get a human being on the phone to find a lost order.
Exactly. The whiplash is severe. The disappointment cuts much deeper because you realize the app is just a beautifully designed window into a completely broken internal process.
It's about processing a return online. You click a button on the app, and a beautiful green checkmark appears saying, refund approved instantly.
And you feel great.
You feel great. But what you don't see is that their underlying banking ledger only batch processes overnight, and their legacy fraud check system automatically puts a 5-day hold on the funds.
Yep.
The app sold you an instant resolution, but the internal machinery guarantees you will wait a week.
It's a total facade.
Here's where it gets really interesting, mechanically speaking, because the sources explain why this happens through a structural framework called the strategy to experience gap.
Right. And this gap is everywhere. In almost every large organization, transformation capital is heavily top-loaded.
Meaning the money stays at the top.
Exactly. The boardroom approves massive, multi-million-dollar budgets for CX strategy, digital design, and upgrading the tech stack.
The executives are highly engaged, the designers are building gorgeous prototypes.
Yeah, and the technology investment at that top layer is very real and often highly sophisticated.
But then there is a sheer drop-off, just a structural discontinuity.
Yeah.
That sophisticated strategic vision almost never crosses the bridge to the bottom layers of the organization, like the internal processes, the frontline execution, and ultimately the actual experience delivered to the customer.
So you end up with a massive operational disconnect.
We've all been there. You execute a flawless digital transaction on your phone, the system glitches, and you call support.
And the person on the other end of the line has absolutely zero visibility into your digital footprint.
None. Because the terminal they are forced to use cannot communicate with the mobile app.
They are completely blind to the strategy the boardroom just spent $1 billion on.
It's absurd.
It is. They have no authority to override the system, and they have to put you on hold to manually look up a policy in some outdated PDF document.
Right. The app was the strategic promise, but that frustrated frontline worker is the actual operational delivery.
And this strategy to experience gap doesn't just alienate the customer, it actively disenfranchises the frontline employee.
Bagai's background as a trained architect actually provides a really useful lens for this dysfunction.
Yeah, I thought that analogy was brilliant.
In physical architecture, handing over a set of gorgeous blueprints is essentially meaningless if the construction crews pouring the concrete don't understand the structural intent.
Or if they are handed the wrong physical tools to execute the design.
Exactly. If the workers on the ground are merely informed about a plan after it is finished, rather than involved in its operational design, the building is compromised before the first floor even goes up.
And the digital equivalent happens every single day in corporate America.
All the time.
An enterprise rolls out a massive new software platform, mandates that the call center agents or the branch staff use it, and expects an immediate transformation.
But if those agents log in and realize the new tool requires 14 clicks to do what their old system did in 3,
they will inevitably bypass it.
And management usually views that as like employee stubbornness or just a refusal to adapt.
Which is a complete misreading of human behavior.
Oh, well.
It is entirely rational behavior. Those employees are optimizing for survival in a highly pressurized environment.
Yeah, if you hand a worker a tool that actively slows them down, but you continue to judge their job performance based on speed,
they will find a workaround every single time.
This leads us to a fantastic, highly specific example from the sources. It was provided by Liz Miller at Constellation Research.
Oh, the empathy paradox.
Yes, it highlights the contradiction between public strategy and internal metrics perfectly. We see companies constantly broadcasting that they're bringing empathy back to their contact centers.
It's the buzzword of the decade.
Right. And to achieve this, they purchase massive customer relationship management or CRM platforms.
These are incredibly expensive software suites.
Very. And they're sold entirely on the promise of giving agents a holistic, empathetic, 360-degree view of your history as a customer.
Yet internally, the operational reality for the employee remains completely unchanged.
That's the crazy part.
The agents using these million-dollar empathy engines are still being ruthlessly evaluated on a metric called average handle time.
Meaning, their performance bonuses and their job security rely on getting you off the phone as fast as humanly possible, which is just wild. This raises an important question about executive intent, though.
How so?
Well, if management is aggressively penalizing employees for long calls, how do they justify buying CRM software designed to foster deep, time-consuming, empathetic customer interactions?
Right.
Are the executives just performing for shareholders, or do they genuinely not see the massive contradiction in their own operations?
You know, it is rarely a malicious lie. It's really just a profound organizational disconnect. Operations and strategy are entirely siloed.
They don't talk to each other.
They operate in different universes. The strategy team buys the CRM software based on a theoretical boardroom vision of customer journey mapping.
It looks great on a slide deck.
Exactly. But the operations team is managing a brutal profit and loss sheet where every extra second an agent spends on the phone costs the company real money.
So they are speaking two completely different languages.
Completely different. And it's pulling the frontline worker in opposite directions. There's absolutely no room for empathy in an average handle time metric because empathy inherently takes time.
It takes active listening.
Right.
It takes pausing to understand nuance.
Right.
So the technology is essentially dropped into the middle of an organizational tug of war, and the customer ends up as collateral damage.
Sadly, yes.
Diagnosing this disease is vital, but we know from the Forrester data that a tiny fraction, just 3% of companies, qualify as truly customer-obsessed.
3%. That's practically a rounding error.
Right. So how do those rare organizations actually cure this structural disconnect?
Well, the sources map this out beautifully using a framework called the Transformation Reality Matrix.
Okay, let's break that down.
It plots companies along two critical axes to explain their operational state. On the horizontal axis, you have technology investment.
So how much capital you are spending on your digital tools.
Right. And on the vertical axis, you have human and behavioral readiness, which is how aligned, trained, and structurally supported your frontline processes are.
Okay, so this creates 4 distinct operational quadrants.
Exactly.
Let's walk through them. If you have low technology investment and low human readiness.
You are stuck in place. This is your legacy company. You are operating exactly as you did in 2010, and your risk of being disrupted by a nimble competitor is massive.
Okay. And if you move up the vertical axis to high human readiness but maintain low technology investment.
You hit what is called culture unlock.
Culture unlock. So in a culture unlock, you have highly motivated frontline teams fighting through terrible processes to save the customer.
Right. Think of a dedicated hotel concierge who manually calls 3 different local restaurants to get you a reservation because the hotel's digital booking software is constantly broken.
Right. It results in a great experience for you, the customer, but it relies entirely on the heroic individual effort of the employee.
And heroism does not scale. It just leads to massive employee burnout because the systemic friction is never resolved.
Makes sense. Now, if we move to the bottom right quadrant, we find where the vast majority of that $2.3 trillion goes. High technology investment, but low human readiness.
This is CX theater.
The Delta Airlines zone. Shiny digital exterior, rotting operational foundation.
Exactly. The C-suite is putting out impressive press releases about their digital roadmap, but the front line is bypassing the new tools.
And the customers clearly see all the seams tearing apart.
Yep. Which leaves us with the holy grail in the top right quadrant. True transformation.
High technology investment perfectly aligned with high human readiness.
This is the rare state where the underlying operational processes have been meticulously rebuilt so that the technology actually accelerates the human workflow rather than obstructing it.
So the tool actually helps them do their job faster.
Exactly. But getting there requires a fundamentally different sequencing of investment.
Oh, so?
The organizations that achieve true transformation involve the frontline workers in the process redesign before they ever write a single line of code or sign a vendor contract.
They fix the wiring in the wall before they mount the smart screen.
Precisely.
And the financial return on doing that hard behavioral work is undeniable. I mean, the Forrester data shows that companies that reach that true transformation quadrant see 41% faster revenue growth.
That's massive.
They see 49% faster profit growth, and they secure 51% better customer retention than their industry peers.
It pays off.
So what does this all mean, like for a leadership team staring down a massive digital overhaul?
The source material posits that every executive must answer one deeply pragmatic, incredibly difficult question before approving a transformation budget.
Okay, what is it?
The question is this: when this program is done, what will be practically different for the person who answers the customer's call?
Oh, wow. Notice what that question ignores. It doesn't ask how the mobile app will render. It doesn't ask what cloud architecture is hosting the data.
No, it doesn't care about that.
It asks how the daily operational reality of the frontline worker changes.
Okay.
Do they have more authority to resolve issues? Are their performance metrics finally aligned with the customer's actual goals?
Exactly.
Because if the honest answer is that the agent's reality remains mostly the same, you haven't bought a transformation. You have purchased an incredibly expensive technology upgrade.
Precisely. You cannot renovate the promise to the customer without renovating the operational delivery mechanism behind it.
This framework completely changes how you evaluate the digital tools you interact with every day. The real work isn't in the software interface. The real work is entirely in the gap between the boardroom strategy and the frontline execution.
And, that reality brings us to a rather urgent final consideration.
Yeah.
Right now, enterprise budgets are aggressively pivoting. Leaders in war rooms all over the world are obsessing over the rollout of generative artificial intelligence.
Oh, AI. Of course.
Yeah, they are racing to deploy smarter chatbots, automated routing, predictive agents, you name it.
Right.
But if an organization has not resolved its strategy to experience gap first, if its internal processes remain fragmented and its underlying data is siloed,
They are just bolting a hyper-intelligent AI brain onto the same rusty 1920s wiring.
exactly. And the profound risk is that they will simply automate CX theater at an unprecedented scale.
Oh, that's a terrifying thought.
Right. We could be looking at a near future where customers receive instantly generated, highly personalized, grammatically flawless apologies for structural failures that the company remains entirely incapable of fixing.
It's the ultimate illusion. The most sophisticated intelligence in human history deployed solely to politely explain why your flight is still canceled, your luggage is still lost, and your refund is still pending.
Exactly. It's just a faster, smarter Band-Aid.
Well, next time you interact with a perfectly polished digital interface, take a moment to look a little closer. Look past the shiny design and ask yourself, what kind of human machinery is actually running the show? Thanks for joining us for this deep dive into the source material.
Thanks for listening to my podcast. If you found this insightful, please subscribe, share, and check out my recent article on this topic on LinkedIn. As always, feel free to get in touch with me with comments, suggestions, and ideas. I'm Hitesh, and I'll see you next time.